Is underway for the observance of World Immunization Week 2022, Guyana's health ministry will be focusing on updating the country's vaccination policy. Joel Vutt has the details.
Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony, during the launch of Immunization Week in Region 6 on Saturday, noted that in Guyana, there has been a very progressive vaccination policy over the years, and in 1974, a law was passed to provide immunization for 6 diseases.
So obviously that schedule is a bit outdated because we're no longer doing smallpox, but we have what is called an expanded immunization program.
Minister Anthony said that in observance of this significant week, the vaccination laws will be updated in keeping with what the health ministry has been doing as it relates to vaccination improvement in Guyana. As it relates to the COVID-19 pandemic, Minister Anthony reiterated that one of the most effective tools to be protected against the virus is still being vaccinated.
Even if they get infected, they would not get the most severe form of the infection. They would not go into hospitals, they would not go into an ICU, and therefore they can recover very quickly.
He underscored that the World Health Organization, WHO, has set a target of achieving 70% global COVID-19 immunization coverage by the end of June 2022.
We are not very far from achieving that target of 70%. We are in our 60s. So if we make an additional effort, we would be able to get to that 70% mark before June of this year.
The Minister of Health stressed that even though Guyana is not far from achieving 70% of its population being fully vaccinated, more effort is required to meet WHO's target. During Vaccination Week, the Health Ministry will be visiting every administrative region to launch regional activities to observe the week, and will be focusing on COVID-19, human papillomavirus (HPV) vaccination, as well as the standard immunization for children under 5 years old in Guyana. From April 23 to 30, 2022, the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, together with countries and territories of the region of the Americas and its partners, will celebrate the 20th annual Immunization Week in the Americas to highlight the importance of vaccines and how immunization helps protect people from vaccine-preventable diseases and improving health. Reporting for the HB90 News, Joel Vogt.
St. Lucia's Labor Minister, Virginia Albert Poyott, has joined in calls for the discussion on a minimum wage to be reopened. The calls for a revised minimum wage to help offset the rising cost of living have been growing louder as of late. More in this DBS News report.
Over the years, numerous concerns about the extremely low wages and the effect on workers' ability to sustain themselves have been expressed. Recently, government has expressed the desire to establish a minimum wage that is reasonable. But Labour Minister Dr. Virginia Albert Poyott says the debate on the issue would have to be reopened. She explained that this was due to an archaic report on wages that is not in sync with the times.
I think we have to reopen the debate because there was some report on minimum wage that was done many years ago, and that is not relevant at this time. So we have to revisit the whole concept and start the dialogue.
This will require consultation between the Ministry of Labour, the Employers Federation and the trade unions, among other stakeholders.
We should be able to formulate a concept of what we consider to be what the Prime Minister described as living wage, and not so much the minimum wage, because we may have a minimum wage that is insufficient for people to survive on. And that is a discussion we'll reopen with the Department of Labour.
The organizations are charged with the task of determining what constitutes a livable wage. For the DBS News World, I'm Don Nicholas.
Internationally, 3/4 of Beijing's residents lined up for COVID tests as authorities race to stamp out a nascent outbreak and avert the debilitating citywide lockdown that has shrouded Shanghai for a month. More in this Reuters report.
About 3/4 of Beijing's population lined up for COVID-19 tests on Tuesday, as authorities in the Chinese capital raced to stamp out the latest outbreak and avert the debilitating citywide lockdown that has shrouded Shanghai for over a month. People in Beijing were stocking up on food supplies after seeing residents in Shanghai struggling to meet their basic needs. Mr. Zhao is a retired editor living in the capital.
When I went to the supermarket last night, vegetables and eggs were all sold out. It was not that there was no supply, but the transportation could not keep up. I went to the supermarket again this morning and the shelves were full of all kinds of vegetables, eggs and everything. So you don't need to worry about supply, but you don't know when the epidemic will happen in your community area. Once there are cases, it will be closed. So every family needs to have a little stock for urgent use.
Concerns about the economy echoed among residents, businesses and financial markets, with Chinese stocks lingering near two-year lows.
I feel that there must be an impact, whether it is on the economy or on personal employment and development. But I think this impact is still a temporary difficulty.
And officials have urged residents to refrain from leaving the capital and avoid gatherings for the upcoming Labor Day holidays. The mandatory testing orders covered 20 million people, days after dozens of infections were found. Shanghai waited for about a month and more than 1,000 reported cases before launching citywide testing in early April. The prolonged lockdown there has fueled frustration over lost wages, family separation and quarantine conditions, as well as access to medical care and food. The Shanghai government did not immediately comment on signs of growing discontent. Beijing recorded 33 new COVID cases for Monday, up from 19 the day before, with no deaths reported so far in the outbreak. The total caseload is minuscule compared with the numbers in Shanghai.
Nepal has plenty of water from annual monsoon rains and rivers fed by melting glaciers in the Himalayas. Yet every year, the capital, Kathmandu, suffers from an increasingly acute water shortage. More in this report from Al Jazeera.
Every morning, Sanumaya Bishta collects water from these centuries-old stone taps in Dhobighat, a suburb of Kathmandu. Once a week, water is also piped into her home, but it's barely enough for her family's needs.
Many people come here and wait in line to collect water. It's never empty. It's crowded in the mornings. Some people come as early as 3 a.m.
Across the road, women pay to use pond water to wash clothes. Kathmandu's rapidly growing population is straining the city's already overwhelmed municipal water system. Most people have to buy water from tankers at high prices. The city relies on aquifers fed by monsoon rains. But as it expands and demand for water rises, they're running dry. Kathmandu is home to 4 million people. The city requires 430 million litres of water a day. Less than half that demand is being supplied. Residents hope the ambitious and long-delayed Melamchi water supply project to pipe water from the river to the city will reduce demand. That project is run by the public utility KUKL that's now upgrading infrastructure to protect water supplies from the Melamchi River.
The target of our KUKL company is to distribute the available water equitably and without without more leakages, you see. As a network of Kathmandu Valley is old, more than 100 years, so there is a lot of problem of leakage, water leakage. That is why also we are shifting from old network to new network, which are undergoing now.
Organizations like Smart Pani are also seeking solutions to the city's water shortages.
There are very many schools in Kathmandu Valley which are struggling to manage water and provide safe water to their kids, you know. So that's why we work with public schools where there is a dire need of water and support them with an alternate resource of water by harvesting the rainwater that is falling on their own rooftop. We're just filtering it and ensuring that it can be reused.
Unpredictable monsoon rains and a rapidly growing city are clearly big challenges here. But many hope that by conserving water, they'll at least start to reduce them. Ramyata Limbu, Al Jazeera, Kathmandu.
And now the weather. Current conditions are cloudy skies with slight haze. The temperature for today is 28 degrees Celsius or 82 degrees Fahrenheit. Winds are a gentle breeze of 9 miles per hour from the north-northeast. Seas are moderate with waves not exceeding 5 feet. The weather forecast in St. Kitts and Nevis for today and tonight will be partly cloudy with a 30% or low chance of showers. Sunset today will be at 6:30 p.m., sunrise tomorrow at 5:47 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Jason Davis.